From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show is the long, possible, bitter breakup between FSU and the ACC taking a new turn. Mike Norvell lays the foundation and the vision for this upcoming season, and all good things come to an end. The last of the ACC kickoff interviews. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. cptallybar.com on the internet. Daily lunch specials weekdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Thursdays, get you a cheesesteak sandwich. Chicken or steak comes with a side dish of your choice, straight fries or curly fries or onion rings or potato salad or coleslaw or broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. It's delicious. It's the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Socially, go shoot some darts or throw some darts, shoot some pool. And play some bingo Thursday nights. Bingo, 7 o'clock. Test your bingo skills to win drinks and prizes. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, the unofficial, official hangout of everybody on Wake Up Warchant.
Also, you should, Aslan, you should mention that they have some new menu items. A little prime rib sandwich.
Ooh, so it's happened. And
it's happened. It's on the menu. I've seen it. The Nashville hot chicken sandwich. And, some other things that just slipped my mind. There's a couple other ones, though, but trust that they're all good.
Okay. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Do it, everybody. Do it. Wake up.
Cuban.
Okay.
They have a real Cuban there now. There you go. There's another one.
Nice. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. A reminder, $1 gets you an entire month of access, or you can get 25% off an entire year's worth of a subscription to Warchant.com, which also includes, everybody, the access to all the other message boards. So you can check out the Gator message board around 4 p.m. on a Saturday and get some joy. The Miami message board around 4 p.m. on a Saturday and get some added joy. See what they're talking about. That's all included. And, man, we've got like 12 threads pinned to the Tribal Council, and they're all within the last 24 hours. They're all pertinent. They're all relevant. We are in full hyperdrive mode getting ready for football season. Join us. It's time. Come home, everybody. It's time. It's time. We're here for you. 5-star rating and review, thumbs up as well, please. Corey's here, obviously. Corey, how are you, first off? Well, I hope. Trust?
I'm good, man. Football starts today. Like, legitimate preseason practice starts today. We're going to be it's going to be hot. It's going to be 4 o'clock-ish. But we're going to be watching Jordan Travis throw passes, and assuming Johnny Wilson. We get to see Keon Coleman.
Yes.
Destin Hill.
Destin Hill.
Yep, he's going to have a big horn on his helmet. It's going to be awesome, guys. It's actually here.
And then at 9 p.m. tonight, we'll have a live show for you folks with instant reaction, observations, all that sort of stuff. So come back and join us on this. I don't know if I want to go in order of what I said in the open. We did talk about football. Let's get right to football. We talked about this on the show the other day, Corey, and Mike Norvell just cut me right at the knees. Not saying he listens to every Wake Up Warchant, but I feel like he listens to most of them.
Probably.
I was going to ask him about the fact that they got so much, experience, because you've written about this and we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. And I wanted to know, like, can you help quantify, tangibly represent to us what it means to have all this experience on your roster? Kind of like a layup question. But you are like, we obviously know what it means to have a bunch of experience, but could it be a challenge? And you and I talked about this. You're like, listen, man, it's human nature to feel good, feel your oats, be in your bag, as the kids would say. And I'm like, nah, man. Like they've all been programmed. They all know what they're signing up for. They all embrace the hard work and everything. And even Mike Norvell, shockingly, agreed with Corey. It was just like, no, man, it is human nature to have the experience and to have a good play and then want to maybe take your foot off the gas pedal, but you need to keep pushing. I thought that was the most eye-opening question of the entire 30-minute sort of session we had with him, and it also drew the only praise from Coach Mike Norvell at the podium. So shout out to our own Corey Clark.
Yeah, he said he either said good question or great question. He might have even said unbelievably fantastic question. I can't remember. But then he saw Ira give me like a pat on the shoulder and called Ira out for that. Like, did you just give him a high five?
Right.
But we don't get a lot of praise. So it feels good when it comes back our way. When you think about how experienced they are, and I think that's true. I think Phil Steele said it. He's never charted a team that's got this many starts and snaps all over its roster like Florida State has. Now, a lot of them came at other schools, But you were talking about one of probably the oldest, most experienced teams in college football history. That's not hyperbole, folks. It just isn't. So the benefits are obvious. Yeah, they know what it's like. They know what the stage is like and the arena is like. They know what the season is going to be like, the ups and downs and what it does to your body. They've lived all that. But what if Darius Washington doesn't like being the seventh guy? He still has to go to work every day and not get to play or not have the prospect of playing. How does that impact? When you have this kind of experience of guys that have done things, how do they not go through the motions a little bit in August? And I think, honestly, that's something that Cypress struggled with in spring. I think, it just sometimes it didn't seem like he was into it that much, which you can understand. He's an older player. He's already proven himself. It's the spring. And the football season doesn't start for 5 more months or whatever it was when they were practicing. And so there can be that human nature to kind of not slack off, because you can never slack up under Mike Norvell, but not continue to ascend, not to try to get better, just try to kind of plateau and be like, okay, I'm just going to get through today. And that can happen with an older, experienced team. It happened in 14, man. That was a very experienced team. They weren't as good as the 13 team. Not who on that 2014 team, other than Jalen Ramsey, would you say was absolutely better than the 2013 version?
Oh.
Ramsey and Rashad Green, maybe O'Leary.
Yeah,
that's about it, man. It's none of the other DBs were. None of the defensive linemen. I guess Goldman, you could say, but a lot of them either plateaued or took, I thought, a step backwards, and so that is human nature a little bit. The beauty, though, and I was talking to David Johnson about this because, again, we get to cover a program that lets us talk to everyone. And we had a little barbecue luncheon with the football coaches before Norvell's press conference. And he's like, yeah, man, he goes, I promise you, it's not just them saying the right things. They are hungry. Like, they have a work mindset, all of these guys. And he said that, it's not just talk. He believes wholeheartedly that they're hungrier than they were last year because they know they haven't done anything, which is good. So collectively, I think the team is hungry. But you're going to fight some ego here and there about guys not happy with their roles. But that would come whether they're an experienced team or an inexperienced team. But you can fight not senioritis necessarily, but guys that, have been there and done that, and maybe on August 11th, aren't taking it as seriously, like getting 2% better or whatever the motto is. They're not taking it that seriously that day because it's their 1,000th day in college.
Yeah, it was one of the things that we discussed on the roundtable. I'm not sure if it's made it to publication yet. We've got just so much stuff going on.
Yeah, we were flooded. You guys have been flooded in the last 48 hours.
Choking you with content.
Yes.
But it was asked, what are the 3 things you think Mike Norvell wants other than health to come out of the preseason camp? And I was like, one of the kickers to emerge. I forgot what the second one was, but my third one was maybe a chew out session, like one of the guys to have a little bit of a tantrum, like I'm not getting the ball enough, just so he can reinforce. Like, listen, this is what we all signed up for. Like, you know what you're getting into. You saw the depth charts. You saw the roster. Like, we're all chasing something greater than your rep, your stats. Like, I think maybe that might be kind of a flashpoint for a learning lesson in camp. Obviously, you don't want guys to be disgruntled, but some sort of silver lining if that were to emerge at this point. The human nature aspect, as he talked about. So we'll be able to actually see if it happens or not, though, because we'll be at practice all the time, every single time.
Can I lob a complaint here at Florida State University?
No, come on, man.
Yep,
we need to make them as marketable as possible right now as we're looking for a new home.
Real quick, football is here, right? It
Correct.
literally starts today. We couldn't have done all this Board of Trustees stuff 2 months ago when we had nothing to talk or write about.
Yeah.
Literally, my man Peter Collins, we love him, buddy. He is a content machine. That was unbelievable, the access he gave us on Tuesday night. I hope you guys have all seen that, the hour-long interview with he and Tom Lang and Ira, just talking about Florida State and the ACC. And then that Board of Trustees meeting on Wednesday. Woo! Holy moly. So, yeah, man, great. Do it now, I guess, the eve of football practice. It would have been cool. That was a long 8 months, guys. Yeah. It was certainly a long 4 months since the spring game. Would have been nice maybe to slip that in there in the middle of June. That would have been some cool content for a week or so. But hey, Doing it all at once.
Yeah. 10 takeaways summarized over on warchant.com for your reading pleasure. Go check it out, subscribers.
That's from Ira.
Yes.
About the Peter Collins, the interview that he had for an hour. And then that was before the president said what he said and all the trustees said what they said on Wednesday.
Yeah. So Tuesday dovetailed into Wednesday. I think the biggest takeaway was Peter Collins just basically saying that the grant of rights is not going to be the document that prevents Florida State from seeking out greener pastures or looking out for their best self-interest. So that was a huge sort of moment, I think, in this timeline that we'll look back on here, who knows, a year or two from now when things start shifting and moving around. But also during the Board of Trustees meeting on Wednesday, so many people pointing out the fact that there is no perfect solution. I think one of the trustees said that. I think President McCullough mentioned it as well. And the fact that they're all mentioning that, listen, there is no perfect solution, but we know that we cannot, by and large, stay here in this conference, makes me believe, to go along with the grant of rights not scaring them away off Corey, just makes you feel that, the big obstacles here is the grant of rights, is having to take it on the chin, some sort of financial penalty, but seemingly they realize that and are going to kind of power through it if it comes to fruition here. I think that's the biggest sort of thing that we're working with right now.
Well, look, man, they are highly motivated. That has become quite clear. They're not dancing around it anymore. They're not towing the company line. What Peter Collins did on Tuesday with the exclusive with Warchant, and then that Board of Trustees had some fireworks. That meeting had some fireworks on Wednesday, even over Zoom. They're saying what we've been saying, right? It's not like it's not a bombshell in the sense that they're saying anything new. What other than
they're saying it publicly though, and a lot of
people
are
saying it publicly, and that's what. But they're not. What they're saying isn't anything that anybody with an IQ in triple digits doesn't understand.
Right.
You can't compete when the Cowboys can't compete with the Commanders if the Commanders are going to be making $400 million more over the next 10 years. They can't, and they wouldn't allow it to. So Florida State is in a position where they are trying to compete in football, not in everything else, but in football. And they're trying to compete with Florida and Alabama and Georgia. And as McCullough said in his talking points at the Board of Trustees meeting, is they're 12th nationally in viewership per game. They're 12th nationally, and that's over a course of years, even down years. That takes into account, I assume, 21, 19. They are 12th in viewership among all the colleges in the country. But they are what are they going to be, Aslan, in 2025? 45th in TV revenue?
But how many eyeballs will they have when they've coming off a national title?
Good point. Good point. But they're going to be making $35 million less than Vanderbilt. They're going to make $35 million left in the Mississippi schools that have done jack squat and, quite frankly, don't draw huge ratings because they're in Mississippi. There's no population there, and they're not big. They're not iconic brands. But all those schools, not just Florida, all those schools are going. If Florida State just stayed put, they would make $500 million. Until the grant of right, 500 is it more than that? $400 million, $500 million over the course of the rest of the grant of rights agreement till 2036. You're done. That's too much to overcome, and it trickles down to every sport. Like your baseball team is done competing nationally. Your basketball team is probably done competing nationally. You just can't compete. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to have all the best coaches and all the best players in 2030. All of them. It just and I'm talking about baseball and basketball. I think Florida State, with the battles in, can still compete, can be competitive nationally in football for a while. But then all that money, at some point the money's going to their faucet will start dripping. The SEC's faucet is on full blast like a fire extinguisher in New York City in the summer. It's going everywhere for all time.
It's a block party with it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Kids running around, the ice cream truck coming down the street. Meanwhile, Florida State's in the back alley digging in a trash can for a half an apple juice bottle. That's where it'll be in 2030 if this doesn't change. And so it's just got to a point, especially, and I thought it was interesting what Collins said on Tuesday night, that it wasn't necessarily Texas, Oklahoma to the SEC that was the impetus for them to really start exploring this. It was USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. Yeah. Like at that point, okay, the Pac-12 is done. The Big 12 just lost their two biggest ones. The ACC is now going to be, at best, third best for a long time. In the Big Ten and the SEC keep getting stronger and stronger, and the ACC is getting weaker and weaker. And it's just untenable if you're trying to compete. So that's what they were saying. Where they're going to go, what their exit strategy is, who knows? They certainly aren't saying. But if they are this motivated, there's just no way that this grant of rights is going to play out till 2036. No chance at this point. It's just a matter of, as Drew Weatherford said, Board of Trustees member, it's not a matter of if they're going to lead the ACC, it's when and how. That's what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, he was saying, do we want to play games or do we want to compete? I think Justin Roth is the name of one of the trustees, where he said that, right now if we stand pat, he's like, there is no perfect solution, there's no perfect time. So if we sit here and we wait for the perfect time and the perfect deal to come along, it's the equivalent of death by 1,000 cuts. But instead of just like a cut, it's a $30 million cut every single year for like the next 13 years. Bob Sasser literally verbatim says we have to get out of the deal. There's these, it's like I said, it's a breakup. This is when you break up, just one day, it's not just all over. It's like there's fractures start happening and fissures start appearing in the foundation. And it's obviously long been tenuous here, but Wednesday just kind of felt like I really wonder what the reaction was in Greensboro or Charlotte now. I guess maybe they're still waiting for the office space to get developed, but what are they thinking when they click on all the videos on Warchant? And we play McCullough talking about we love the ACC, but there's no way we can stay here if they don't change. And Drew Weatherford's like, I wanted to do nothing but be a Florida State Seminole my whole life, but if someone paid me $1 million more, I would have gone. I mean, just all these sort of cavalcade of criticisms coming at the conference. I wonder how they took it at the home office.
Probably not well. And look, it's going to be really interesting what Clemson does next. Because right now, it's weird, man. I was getting just on Twitter for a little bit, or X. And I won't be on it I'm not on it for long anymore, but it felt like 2014 again, man. Everybody hates Florida State. Florida State became the villain among the ACC really quickly. Even Mark Ennis, who's the Louisville personality, has been ripping Florida State, and it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense because Louisville's a charter member of the ACC. They've been around since, 2013. So, of course, they didn't do the same thing to leave the Big East for greener pastures, so certainly they can't relate to Florida State's plight. And at the end of the day, all these schools, except for Boston, Louisville, should be excited about this because they are a school that actually cares about athletics. And they can compete nationally in basketball and baseball. They've won championships, and they've been to the College World Series. I don't know about football, but maybe even football. They're not going to be in the Big Ten or the SEC probably, but they can go make $6 or $8 million more per year in the Big 12 as opposed to just doing what they're doing in the ACC and just falling behind every year. I don't understand for a school like Louisville or NC State or North Carolina or Miami, these schools that would, I think, have good landing spots, why in the world they wouldn't be 100% behind what Florida State is doing? Peter Collins made a really good point too. He was talking about those spring meetings they had, and you're trying to explain. So Boston College has, I can't remember the exact numbers, but work with me here. So Boston College has a $60 million athletic revenue. And $30 million of those dollars come from the TV. So they get out of the $60 million they make in athletics, half of it comes from TV. So they kind of love the deal. Half of their money comes from that. They have no bones with the ACC. This is great. It's better than the Big East. It's better than the AAC. But then you look at Florida State. Florida State has $120 million athletic revenue. So only 25% of their money comes from the TV. So they want they need more money. They have a bigger operating budget. They need a lot more money that Boston College can't even relate to. Pitt can't relate to. Syracuse can't relate to. Virginia, you go down the line, Georgia Tech, none of these schools can relate other than Clemson, North Carolina, I guess, can relate to having that big of an athletic budget and what $40 more million would mean. Like Boston College doesn't care. They've never been relevant except when Flutie was completing a Hail Mary and Matt Ryan was there for half a second. That's the only time Boston College has been relevant nationally in football. They do not care to win football championships. And neither does anybody else in this conference, save for Miami and Clemson. Nobody else. So, of course, they don't really care that much. But Miami's probably not even somebody I should use. Clemson and Florida State desperately want to compete for championships. So these people that are mad at Florida State, the Wake Forests of the world, the NC States, the Louisvilles, they can't relate because they haven't been here. And if the shoe was flipped, that's not a saying, is it? If the shoe was on the other foot, the coin was flipped, and somehow 10 or 12 or 15 years ago in an alternate universe, men's basketball became the driving force economically for college athletics in this country, and it was the second most popular sport in this country, and it was creating $40 million per year, Louisville wouldn't care at all about Florida State. Louisville would get out in a second if they were falling behind Kentucky in basketball to that rate. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if they could. And so would North Carolina. But when you're a football fan and you're a football school and you see all these other not football schools making $40 million more per year than you, well, that's not good, and you need to fix it.
Yeah, it's strange, right? It's a weird dynamic being in this conference, like with all the disparate locations and the entry dates, but I think it goes back to the SEC. It means more. I feel like they would hold each other's feet to the fire more, even though they haven't been in it together all that much. But I don't understand where it comes from. Like to your point, like if you're a Louisville fan, like you should want to get out of this conference. But I don't know. Like they think we're ruining a good thing here, like the sacred holy ACC. Like how dare we speak ill of it? Like we're speaking, keep your laundry, don't air your laundry out to everybody to see. But it's so much more than that, man. It's the amount of money that's up for grabs here that it's just going to expound exponentially or compound exponentially rather over the next 10 years, 13 years as this grant of rights would last out. It's not tenable. And someone needs to step up. Clemson BOT, Miami Board of Trustees, like someone, come on. Florida State's not going at it alone. There were 7 of you. that were upset going into Amelia Island. Somebody else speak up. Have some guts. Look what the chairman of the board has done and the athletic director's done at Florida State. Step up.
Exactly right. Quit being babies. Yeah. Florida State's already stood up. You know how I think Chappelle had a skit about this, but when you're talking about when somebody is unruly on a bus or a train, and everybody's trying to be calm and look away and not confront him, and he's saying all this wild stuff, and then one person stands up and says, "Hey man, shut up," and then 5 other people will be like, "Yeah man, shut up. We don't want to hear this." Like Florida State's already stood up and told the guy to shut up. When's Clemson going to be like, "Yeah man, I got your back. This clown needs to sit down"? Yeah. All that the stuff you saw on airplanes during the COVID times, like that's what Florida State needs, because nothing that Florida State said on Wednesday, nothing that any trustee said or what Peter Collins said on Tuesday night, it doesn't go for Clemson too. Like I think Clemson, you hope they haven't been fooled by, and I not fooled, but they haven't taken it for granted that, oh well, we got Dabo, so we'll be fine. Like we're still top 10 in the country. We're still getting these recruiting classes. It's not killing us. They have to know that this is in 5 or 7 years, if this continues, they won't be able to compete year in and year out nationally with even South Carolina, because South Carolina will have $40 more million every year. They will have a $250 to $280 million surplus over their rival in the same sport. So you would think Clemson would understand that, and I think they do. I think, just judging from what I was reading coming out of the ACC media days, I feel like the Clemson media has been talking about that. But you would like to see the president or somebody on the board, because what do they have to lose? And that was my thought with Florida State too. Is when they were talking, when they were doing what they did on Wednesday, and even if they did whatever in a year from now, if they say we are filing to leave the ACC, and we don't know how that's going to play out. What's the downside to it? Right. What's the risk? The risk is staying in this conference and being lapped 10 times by your rivals. So there isn't like even if they try to sue and they can't, they try to leave and they can't, or inexplicably no other conference wants them and they have to go back to the ACC. Well, that's that the ACC. You know what I mean? Like there's no risk that the bottom level, the basement, is to stay in the ACC. Everything else is a step up. Every other option, it would appear, is to be a step up, except maybe the Big 12. And people might fight me on that. I don't know. If the Big 12 had I talked about this on Headlines, Aslan. I want to get your thought on this. Say, so the ACC, let's say they're making $31 million a year in TV revenue. And the Big 10 is going to ink a deal that's $37 million a year.
The Big 12, you mean?
Big 12, sorry,
okay.
is going to ink one that's $37 million a year for 6 years.
Yeah.
So that's $36 million extra dollars for Florida State. Would you leave the ACC for that? For $6 million a year more?
Man, I mean, we're talking about 40, and they talk about the gap. I think even Peter Collins said this uneven distribution, this success-based initiative the ACC is going to do, maybe at best would be $6 million, and he pretty much said it's a non-starter. So I guess I would have to say that no, I wouldn't leave. Because, I mean, who's the standard bearer right now in the Big 12, like football-wise? Oklahoma
it would
State,
be Florida.
TCU?
But
it would be
TCU,
us.
I guess.
Yeah,
It'd be Florida
us.
State. It'd be Florida State and Clemson. And I don't think you do anything without Clemson.
Okay.
I think you and Clemson, you have to have a deal with those guys. Yeah. You have to have a handshake agreement with Clemson because they're like-minded. They have to be. So you would think that Florida State isn't doing anything that Clemson doesn't agree with. Unless Clemson's administrators are complete fools, which they're not. So you have to think that they're and no matter what Dabo is going to say publicly about this, because he is going to be asked about it, and he's going to say, well, I'm sure he'll make a snide comment about Florida State and how Clemson still managed to win championships even when they're not in the SEC. But I do think that Clemson and Florida State are lockstep in this. They have to be. But if Clemson and Florida State join the Big 12, then that certainly sweetens the TV deal. Fox would love that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And maybe it's $10 million a year extra. You're still $20 million behind the SEC, but that's better than being $30 million behind. And I know a lot of people might be listening to this going, well, yeah, man, of course. If it's even $5 million more per year, you take it. But there's travel, and there's your fans to think about. I just drove through Waco, gang. I just drove through Waco to look at the Branch Davidian compound on my way to Dallas for Shane and Michelle's wedding.
Well, how big of a detour was it?
It wasn't much at all. That's why I did it. It was
okay.
I think it was like 15 minutes off the highway.
Oh, nice.
The problem was we were running out of gas. The gas light was on.
Oh, no.
And I don't know if you remember some of the scenery around that time, Aslan, but it's pretty desolate out there.
Yes.
Not a lot of.
That's where one would want to build a compound. It's got very good
it actually really is. I see what they were doing there. I understand it. So we rode up there, and you actually can go onto the property and drive around. They ask for a $10 donation, and they have a gift shop. And I think Stephanie said we did not go in because it was creepy looking. Like you're going down a dirt road. There's no signs for anything. Like not that there would be. Like, hey, former home of the Branch Davidian compound, like, one of those plaques on the side of the road. Right. There wasn't anything like that, but we read about it on the internet. There was a site that told us how to do it. If the gate's open, you can drive in. You pay them $10. You can walk around. There's a gift shop that has shirts of Koresh playing the guitar.
Oh, my God.
The problem is it's still the Branch Davidian compound. They still live there. Oh. Not hundreds of them like there used to be, but like apparently according to the internet, like 20 or 25. They rebuilt a church. And there was nobody else there. There was just a few cars, but nobody was walking around. And it's just huge farmland, and it was really creepy. So Stephanie got out of the car and at least walked through the gate to look around and see what the sign said, but I stayed in the car because if somebody came out, I was going to have to floor it and leave her. You know what I mean? Right. Maybe she becomes their leader. Who knows? But they did have a sign that said the branch. Nice. Like, you know what I mean? So they're kind of
like, was it Dub Branch, like DA Branch?
Yeah, Dub Branch. Yeah. So anyway, so you're asking your fans then. The cool thing about the ACC, like you were talking about, is that there are some cool cities to go to, and you have Florida State pockets in a lot of those cities, and you have Florida State fans that'll make the trip to Winston-Salem or that live in North Carolina can go to Chapel Hill or Durham or even Louisville or, maybe not too many in Pitt and Syracuse, but up and down the Eastern Seaboard and Georgia Tech, you have Florida State fans. You ain't got none of them in Lubbock. and none of them in Waco. And those are not easy cities to get to, and they're not fun cities to go to. So to me personally, at this point, maybe it's untenable and you have to get out if you have any out at all. But man, I don't know if $5 or $6 or $7 million a year to go do that travel in that part of the country is worth it. But I'm probably in the minority there. And at this point, you might just have to get out. You have to find a landing spot at all costs.
VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WARCHANT, BOGO, B-O-G-O, buy one, get one free. How about some capsules, y'all? Focus Support, 8-in-1 advanced formula, green coffee, which gives you your caffeine surge of energy for 7 hours or more. Ginkgo, L-carnitine, blueberry, alpha-GPC, red sage, ashwagandha, I think I crushed it. All of this in one convenient vegetarian capsule, no sugar crash, energy and vitamins in a little capsule. And when you use the promo code WARCHANTBOGO, buy one, get one of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. It applies to these new capsules. So check it out over at vitaminenergy.com. Remember, there's Noles behind the company, which is why they're giving you this great promo. The rest of the country and the world just sees a 17% off price tag, but y'all get pretty much 50% off because the buy one, get one free aspect, I think if my math serves me correctly. Check them out. Shake it and take it. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WARCHANTBOGO, B-O-G-O. Corey, before we uncork some of these last interviews from the ACC kickoff, and then we'll just be focused fully on Florida State because we'll be at practice here for the next 3 days. The preseason All-ACC teams came out. Order of finish came out, I think, the other day? Clemson finished first, Florida State second. Yep. We had plenty of first-place votes. You're welcome, everybody. I did my part. Not a lot of surprises. I think most people are probably upset that Drake May got in ahead of Jordan Travis for All-ACC quarterback. I put Jordan number one on my ballot, but four Florida State guys on this first team, Trey Benson, Johnny Wilson, and then on the defense, Jared Verse and Fentrell Cypress. So Fentrell Cypress's name still echoes out in Charlotte and other corners of the ACC footprint. So sounds about right. I was hoping to see maybe one of the offensive linemen get on there, but I guess like a Jeremiah Byers maybe doesn't sound that sexy as a first-time transfer, although Miami got Alabama transfer Javion Cohen onto the team here apparently. So thoughts about four? About right? Not enough? Too many maybe?
Yeah, I thought it would be five, only because I thought so one of the Fabian Lovett or somebody like that might make it, or one of the offensive linemen might make it, even if it was Emmanuel or Byers, who's a newcomer. But yeah, I mean, I predicted those four for sure, and I didn't know who the fifth one would be, but I didn't think it would be Jordan because Drake May is the returning ACC Player of the Year. He's supposed to be the number 2 or number 3 pick in the draft. It makes sense that he would be the quarterback on the preseason team. We'll see where it ends up in December when the votes that actually matter come in and we see who played the best. But yeah, I don't think Florida State fans should have an issue with that, or as I talked about at the time, Clemson being picked first. That's how life works, man. Until you've lost to them every year since Smag was here. So that's how until you prove you can beat that team, you don't deserve to be picked ahead of them, in my opinion. So yeah, I see why they would. But a lot of people did. A lot of people did pick Florida State first. I think it was 102 for first place votes for Clemson, and like 63 or so for Florida State, something like that, something in that neighborhood. And that seems about right. Like I just Clemson. It's not like Clemson lost their whole team. They're still going to be good, and they're Clemson. So go beat them, and then next year you'll be the preseason pick maybe.
Yeah, Clemson with 103 first-place votes for a total of 2,370. Florida State had 67 first-place votes for a total of 2,304. So pretty razor-thin margin there. NC State somehow got a first-place vote. North Carolina was third. They got 5 first-place votes.
I shouldn't admit this, but I didn't realize it until probably 2 days ago that I got emailed a ballot to fill out for that. I didn't realize. I thought you had to be there to do that, so I didn't even see it in my email. I'm like, what is this? And I wonder if I'd have voted Florida State number 1, if that would have pushed it ahead. No, that's still just one extra vote. I don't think that would have made – they still would have been 40 first-place votes behind Clemson. So, or if I'd have voted Jordan for quarter. But I don't think I would have. I think Drake May earned it, right? For right now. I'm not saying Drake May is going to have a better year or that he's a better college quarterback, but Drake May had a really good year last year and he's back, and he was good last year.
Yeah, I voted Jordan. I don't know if I was a homer. I watched the North Carolina-Miami game last year, and I thought Drake May looked very pedestrian. So that's why I'm like, and that's my whole.
Okay,
opinion.
that's a small sample size.
It would be like
admittedly.
watching Dalvin Cook in the Rose Bowl in 2014. And
be like, this kid can't hold on to the ball. He's playing for Oregon.
Yeah, so take that for what you will. But I also think they lost. Did they lose Phil Longo, the OC, or maybe that was 2 years ago they lost him? I should check in on that. But yeah, I went with Jordan. But I get it. Yeah, I'm not.
They lose? They lost to Georgia Tech last year, right? Didn't North Carolina lose to Georgia Tech last year, like 28-20? Or it was kind of late in the year. I feel like that they lost to Georgia Tech in upset. But anyway,
yeah,
I could
21-17, 21-17 Ramblin' Wreck.
Yeah. So that's why Drake May shouldn't be the AC. He lost to Georgia Tech.
And he lost to Miami. Georgia Tech lost to Miami.
What did Jordan Travis do to Georgia Tech, buddy?
Oof. Hurt their
feelings. He put it on him.
Yeah. All right, so otherwise, 4 Noles on the first team All-ACC list. But we spoke to Rondé Gadsden. He's on the first team, friend of the program, Rondé Gadsden. We're also going to speak now to Dewayne Carter from Duke. He made first-team defensive tackle. That's coming up. Maybe right after this or maybe right now this second.
Hey, you should tell people, though, Aslan, to tune into Warchant about 6:30 tomorrow, 7 o'clock. That'll be when I lay out the observations from the first day of practice. That's the beauty of our jobs, is that we get to watch practice and we get to have real observations. And so I'll shoot you straight. Not allowed to talk about injuries, but I'll shoot you straight about what I see, who stood out, who struggled, and that'll all be on the website. Practice will probably end around, if it starts at 4, probably end around 6, and I'll have everything up hopefully by 6:35, 6:50, somewhere in that neighborhood, and you can go and read all about Florida State's first practice of the season.
All right, it's Wake Up Warchant right here on Radio Row ACC Kickoff. Got Dewayne Carter in the house from Duke University, Duke Blue Devils. Dewayne, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm well. What's it feel like to be a 3-time captain?
Man, it's a blessing. It's just crazy to think my teammates really think that highly of me, and my coaches trust me to lead this team in the right direction. So it's a blessing, man. I just can't wait to get back out there on the field and start playing some games now.
So this is like you're captain for the whole season. This isn't like every game we rotate captaincy, right?
Yep, we do season captains.
I like that. That's the way it should be, man. So listen, we're a Florida State podcast. Obviously, there's a lot of expectation on Florida State. We see them practice. They look really good.
Yeah.
In case you don't know. But people ask us, who do you think can trip them up other than Clemson and LSU? I'm like, I don't know, man. I think Duke. Mike Elko, his defense, Riley Leonard's a quarterback. I don't want you to put the fear of God in our Florida State fans listening to this podcast. But what makes you feel good about Duke right now in this season?
Yeah, like you said, Riley Leonard, first of all. You got a legit signal caller under center with a year under his belt. I'm excited to see where he goes. And also our experience, our non-youth, I guess is the way I describe it. I think we're returning about 17 out of 22 starters. And it's pretty cool because last year was almost the opposite. I feel like we were very young, especially in our secondary and our defense as a whole. So I'm excited to see where we go, man. We got a lot of potential. I'm excited.
How would you describe Coach Elko? You got any quintessential Mike Elko stories that would let people know what kind of dude Coach is?
Coach Elko's funny. He's very personable. He's a comedian. He's actually very funny. He's very sarcastic, too. So, don't let you say something dumb, on accident. But he's a great guy, man, and he's really, he's a player's coach, and by the definition. If you call him whatever time of the night you need him, he'd give you his shirt off his back. He's that type of coach, so he's a great guy.
Right on. So you're from Ohio.
I am.
Grew up in Ohio. Father played at Ohio State.
Yep.
I'm not a big Buckeye guy. I think you guys are a little bit arrogant, obnoxious Buckeye fans, not to attack the family.
That's fair. Fair.
But, what was it like growing up kind of around Ohio State, I guess? Was that the dream? And just, how at peace are you from the sort of path you were able to blaze for yourself?
Yeah, 100%. Growing up, every kid wants to be like his daddy. Dad played football at Ohio State, and I was immersed in the Ohio State culture. I was a Buckeye through and through, do-or-die fan, watch every game, went to games, stuff like that, because my dad's still very involved in alumni and his teammates as well. As I got older, they didn't offer me a scholarship, which is okay. Obviously I was hurt at first, but at the end of the day, I think I ended up where I need to be, which is at Duke, and, praying about it, praying on it, and seeing, the results and everything else I've gained from this university, I couldn't be at any better place.
Looking back, can you look back on the visit, reflect back on 18-year-old Dewayne?
Yeah.
and just, how you wanted your recruitment to play out, whether you drove down there, flew down there, mom, dad, who you went with, and just the experience looking back on it and how it made an impression on you.
Yeah, man, the first visit we drove down there, it's about 6.5 hours from us, 7 on a bad day if you get stuck in Virginia. But, man, we got down there. I remember the first event or whatever it was. I think it was a junior day. We walked in, and I was like, man, I like it here. I get to talk to the coaches, man. I like it here. I'm talking to players, man. I like it here. I'm talking to teachers, man. I like it here. And they at least showed you everything the university had to offer. And it's funny because, it kind of just complimented you so well. And to this day, it's held true. It's literally held true. And, I'm so grateful and so blessed that everything worked out the way it did. And not only that, I was able to get my degree and accomplish that and still play football at a high level, man. So I'm just blessed.
What do you think you are hoping to leave behind? It feels like Duke is starting to gain some traction in terms of being looked upon as a solid program with a guy like Coach Elko kind of at the helm. I guess how exciting is it? Do you think about legacy and what you guys can do this year to kind of help build for the future and everybody else that comes after?
Yeah, 100%. So actually one of the things I first said when I came to Duke, I said I want to leave a legacy, but not in a selfish way, but just I want to affect this university in a positive way, in a lasting positive way. And what better way to do it than my true senior class last year going out on top, winning the Military Bowl, putting us back on the map. I think that's just the coolest thing ever, especially because when we had the coaching change, we only had one guy leave, one guy transferring. Nothing against him. He had his reasons, of course. But as a class, we were able to finish all together, go through, win that bowl game, and celebrate like we deserve. You would have thought we won the Natty. But it just meant so much more to us because of our loyalty and everything we went through.
What is a nightmare for a defensive tackle when you're going up against an offense? Because, I don't want to scout out Florida State for you, but, man, they've got a pretty good offensive line.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty good quarterback. If they want to run, they can pretty much run. If they want to throw, they can throw. If it's 3rd and 6, they can run and maybe get a first down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to play against Florida State. I wouldn't want to have to scout and come up with a game plan against them. But I know you haven't maybe looked at film, but what's kind of the reputation of Florida State right now, do you think, at least offensively?
I just know they're very talented. They got a lot of talented guys, and obviously they had a great year last year, and obviously they probably have a lot of pressure on them too with the whole Florida State is back thing and the legacy of that program. And they're a great program. And Jordan Travis he's very experienced. I think I played against him in 2020. So we're probably around the same age. If not, he might have me by a year or two. But, they're very experienced, old team. And like you said, they can do it all. They have weapons on the edge. They have weapons up front. They have weapons who can run the ball. And having a running quarterback, a true dual-threat quarterback, is very challenging for any defense who can just make up his mind and pull it and run at any time. And that's why I feel like people have so much trouble stopping Riley Leonard because he has all those options. So, they're a great team. I can't wait to go down there and play them.
So it's tricky for a defensive tackle, man. As soon as that ball snap, you got to – if you're going up against a team like Florida State, you have to factor in, the mesh point. You have to factor in maybe Jordan's going to roll out. Maybe it looks run. Maybe it's going to be pass. Maybe the pass looks run. What are those sort of things that complicate, you think, your life when you go up against a team like that?
Yeah, so first thing about defense, you got to do your job. Because if you don't do your job on defense, then they can mess up the whole the whole defense and end up in the end zone. But I guess for specifically D tackles, you talk about different double teams. You talk about different schemes, trap plays. So I say, there is one play, especially when you talk about the zone read, you talk about the mesh point, right? When you're 300 pounds and you play interior defensive line and there's a dual-threat quarterback and a fast running back who decide to read you at the mesh point and you got to make a choice and make the right read, and then if not, you can't get beat around the edge. You got to keep pushing them out of bounds as far as you can. I say that's probably one of the toughest ones.
Okay. All right. Well, just get some extra cardio before you come down to Tallahassee. Just look out. You seem like a good guy. We'll look out for you. You guys have a new defensive coordinator, but Coach Santucci worked with Coach Elko in College Station. So I guess most of the nomenclature terminology is the same, but what does change with the new voice? Is there a new energy that you can maybe explain?
Yeah, it's just Coach Tooch. It's a different personality type of guy. He's a great guy. He came in and kind of gelled right away. And I kind of liked his approach. It wasn't on us necessarily to get to know him. He knew he was he was the odd man out, but he knew he was kind of the newer guy. So he made it a priority, to go out his way and meet us, talk to us, get to know who we are as a person and as people before we even got down and sat even talked about scheme or anything like that. So that's one thing I'm excited, man. We like Tooch a lot, so can't wait to get after it.
I know there's a bell up for grabs when you play that other school.
There is.
But this is a Florida State podcast. A lot of folks like you because you guys apparently are Miami's new rival. What's it like, the fact that you guys kind of give Miami the business a lot? You guys have only beat Miami 5 times as a program, and 3 of them in the last 5 years. Yeah. So, I don't know, do we call them a rival in Durham right now, or what's the deal?
It's just funny. That's a funny question because I was talking to that somebody the other day about that, and we in Miami have gone back and forth like my whole time I've been at school. So it's kind of funny that's the game we go back and forth. But at the end of the day, the in-state teams, the NC State, Wake Forest, and obviously the team down the hill down the road, Chapel Hill. It's obviously the rivals for sure. But it's definitely funny when you play in that coastal division for so long. But now it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
So we'll see where it goes from here.
So what is the rivalry like when it comes to football with North Carolina and Duke? We obviously basketball, we know front and back, but just how much is on the line? I mean, you're not from North Carolina, but you bleed Duke blue, it seems like. So
100%.
how much does that game mean to you and obviously the fans back in Durham?
Yeah, it means the world. And it's funny, I had the same thoughts as you when I first came down there because, I told you I grew up as an Ohio State fan. So the game, like the Ohio State-Michigan game was all I knew. Tell you that's the greatest rivalry ever. True Buckeye, whatever. But I came down that first Chapel Hill game versus Duke. It was just like basketball. It's really no drop-off. Fans are just as nasty. The guys are just as nasty.
Good.
The coaches are just as nasty. The energy is the exact same. It's almost this calmness in the air, before rivalry game before it's even kicked. You just know, it's going to be a battle. No matter whose record is what, no matter what the end's going to be, you just know. So it's awesome.
You're a good ambassador for Duke and maybe even Ohio State. Maybe I've been too tough on Ohio State fans. We're going to let you go here, but we're going to go to our speed round here, Dewayne.
Let's do it.
He's going to ask you 5 real quick questions. Let's start the clock. Do you know what game last year you graded out at the highest according to PFF?
Carolina?
Miami.
Miami.
My man. Coach Elko, what's his alma mater?
Penn.
Correct. You were ranked the 20th player in Ohio. Do you know how many players ahead of you have transferred at least once from that class? So there's 19 guys ahead of you. How many of those 19 players have transferred?
What, about 13 of them?
14.
I knew I was close because
Crazy.
It was funny. We were kind of close.
All right, who did not attend Pickering Central High School? Jake Butt, Taco Charlton, Karis LeVert.
Jake Butt.
Oh, man, you know your high school. I like that.
I know my high school.
Last one, spell Coach Krzyzewski.
Coach K.
That's right. That's the right answer, man. Dewayne, thanks so much, man. Best of luck this coming season, man.
Thank you. Have a good one.
MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Use the promo code WARCHANT when you sign up. Get an instant cash deposit bonus. So the folks in the desert, and I guess the Caribbean as well, shout out to our guys, MyBookie.ag, Antigua. They've got Drake May plus 1,600 to win the Heisman, but they got Jordan Travis plus 1,300.
Right.
So who do you want to believe in, everybody? The guys that make the odds and win all the time, or a bunch of writers hanging out in Charlotte eating wine and cheese, rubbing elbows with the other ACC folks? Cade Klubnik plus 1,300. What are we doing out there, my bookie?
Okay, all right.
That's crazy. I can't imagine that. I was thinking about that the other day. Just how could – there's no way Jordan Travis loses to Cade Klubnik. I know that's not the way football works sometimes, but I just don't think Jordan Travis would fall 2-3 plays short of beating what amounts like a freshman in a big-time game.
Freshman making his, fifth start.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers plus 1,100, Caleb Williams plus 450. That's got to be the worst play, right? No one repeats. We've talked about this. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then Jaden Daniels is the second, has the second odds, plus 980 to win the Heisman. So we'll see. Jordan Travis will have that on his pelt after 1 week, and then from there, that number's going to – how low is that number going to be by the time we enter Gainesville, you think, last week in November? Jordan Travis,
minus 1,100.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be an automatic.
Yeah, sounds about right. Get on it now, folks. Get to mybookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT for your instant cash deposit bonus.
All right, we go. Stop your booing, everybody. Relax. Chill out. We got a cane on the show. It's fine. We'll be humans for a little bit. Matt, how are you, man? Matt Lee joining us here on the program.
Good. How you doing? Thanks
Good,
for
man.
having me.
Matt, so in case you didn't know, according to one of these recruiting services, there was 1,808 players they thought were better than you coming out of Hagerty High School. 253 players in the state of Florida alone. You're one of the most highly sought-after guys on the transfer market. You're now at the University of Miami. What did everybody get wrong? What's happened in the last 4 years in the life of Matt Lee that's led you to this point?
I think it's probably a mixture of a couple things. I think my high school wasn't small. We competed in big classification, but it's not a heralded famous football program, especially when you think of the state of Florida, right? And maybe I could have got more offers here and there at certain camps, this and that. But I went to stuff too, just underappreciated, under-recruited. I had 2 FBS offers. I had UCF, I had USF, South Florida. So that on top of the day I stepped on campus, 17 years old to now, to my whole college career, I've always just prided myself on like work ethic and discipline and being the hardest worker in the room and understanding the mental side and the schematics to not just knowing it, but knowing that I know, like really knowing it, being able to get other guys on the same page, right, when they might be confused, and just trying to be a leader, get better every single day, focus on where I'm at the moment. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. Out of high school, I had nothing, and I got in the portal and, pretty much could have gone wherever,
Did it bother you? I mean, you seem like, it's all worked out for you, but I don't know if you have other friends in the area that are getting better offers, and you're like, man, like I've played against this kid since Pee Wee. I know who I am. Like, why am I not getting these offers?
In the moment, yeah, it did a little bit. At the same time, when UCF offered me, and I'm from right outside of, right next to UCF, right outside of Orlando, East Orlando in Oviedo. So my high school is 4 minutes from UCF's campus, not even. It's right down the road. So growing up, I went to UCF games. My dad went there. He's an alum. I had family that played there. We were like UCF fans. So I was super happy that they offered me, and I got that opportunity. But it did bother me because I was like, man, I know that guy, and like, I'm not saying I'm anything special at the time, but like I'm better than him, and you're offering him, But it all worked out.
So you said you enter the portal, you're a highly coveted guy. I saw photos of you, like photo shoot at Oklahoma. I'm a Florida boy as well. I've never been to Oklahoma. What was Norman, Oklahoma like? How was that visit? Do they fly you first class? Are you on business class? Walk us through what it's like when you're being courted at this level, because it's different. Even if you were a hotshot high school guy, I think when they know for sure they've seen you play at this level as well as you play at UCF, you're probably treated a little bit better. It's probably a little bit top shelf.
That's fair, right? Yeah, that's true.
You can brag on yourself, Matt. It's fine.
I think going to OU, well, that was a whole ordeal because, I really visited Oklahoma because offensive coordinator there, Jeff Levy, who recruited me to UCF in high school, I'm super close with him. And then Dylan Gabriel, who's their quarterback, I came into UCF with him together. So I'm like very, very good friends with him, like lifetime friends with him. We flew up. I don't really remember if it was first class or not. It might have been. But it was an easy flight. Got there in Norman. It's a different world, really, like in like a college town like that, because it's all like it's football. It's Oklahoma football. It's Sooner football. That's it. Like if you go to OKC, you get the Thunder and all that. But no, it's all about Sooner football. But that was cool. Jordan School. That stuff's always cool to see. But then from there, I had to fly connecting to somewhere else, then connect down to Miami, which got delayed like 3 hours because, airlines and all that, which was a pain. But I went straight from there for like 2 days, straight down to Miami into MIA, and then visited Miami the next 2 days. So that was like a 4 or 5 day just straight marathon, sitting on the plane, sitting in meetings, doing this and that, not sleeping too much, but it was still fun.
I mean, you didn't get all that glitz and glamour on the way out of high school, but
Absolutely.
I don't think you really want it to be that way either. What sort of timeline did you and your parents make? I mean, when you, walk us through thinking about going to the portal, going on these trips, and then wanting to make a decision and how you wanted that all to play out.
Yeah, I think when December rolled around, so we played in the American, we played in the American Conference Championship, and we lost to Tulane. And after that, throughout the little break we had, and throughout bowl season, and throughout the week we were in D.C. for the Military Bowl playing Duke, it kind of just came something in my mind that kind of progressed more and more as the month went on, for various reasons, myself as well as the program, just a bunch of stuff. I could go on for hours about that.
Gus Malzahn's a weird guy. We get it. I said it. You didn't.
I didn't say it.
I said it. UCF Twitter.
And then kind of once we finished the bowl game, and I was like, okay, I got a couple weeks now to where I'm off, where I can really think about this. Then like 3 days after that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go in the portal, and got I think more
Don't
attention.
Blow up,
It was like right as I posted it, and then especially when it officially entered, it was like I was in a meeting with someone, some UCF coach, just talking this and that, and my phone, I had to put my phone in the corner because it didn't stop vibrating. Messages here and there, like definitely more attention than I thought would have happened, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, that was dope. I just didn't know that was going to happen. And then I didn't have much time really because we played a bowl game at the end of December, and you got to get enrolling a few weeks into January. And so I visited. I would have, in hindsight, for the enjoyment, and visited a few other schools for sure. But went to Oklahoma, went to Miami, and Miami, just the people. I got a lot of family in Miami too. I'm a Florida dude. I like the Canes, and Coach Cristobal, O-line coach, Coach Mirabal, the guys down there at TVD. it always kind of made sense for me too.
How cool was it the TVD came down for your visit? I guess the Don comes to open the books for you, and just we hear it in movies, we see it, that's my guy, that's my quarterback, I'm the center, I'm protecting him. I guess did that make an impression on you?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, the kind of more preferential special treatment that you may have got here compared to high school. They're on break and he's at Connecticut and home, and he flies down for those 2 days to spend the days and nights with me and really get to know me. So just that showed me, okay, not only the coach is not only important to them, but this is a starting quarterback, and he's no. I'm gonna come down and try to make an impression and make it happen. And really, that did a good job of helping seal the deal, because he's a good, genuine dude.
Poor guy, man. He needed some help on the offensive line. That's why I'm sure he went down to see if you'd help him out. You have any good Tatum Bethune stories for us here? He's obviously now at Florida State. Anything you can share about your time playing against Tatum in practice? Or just what kind of guy he was?
No, I love Tatum. We came in together, same recruiting class in 2019, and I think he went to Central in Miami. But we were the same class, same age. We played 3 seasons together, and I think we starting pretty much the same year, that 2020 COVID season. He played a lot his freshman year too, but Tatum's a good dude, hard worker, not the loudest guy, not to himself, but not a big extravagant guy, but hard worker, knows what he's doing. He'll stick his nose in the pile, and I love Tatum. Yeah, I look forward to seeing him when that time comes. Yeah.
I know that you're a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt, the arena quote.
Yeah.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend, so we might be on opposite sides of this rivalry, but I think, the origin of that was you having to deal with people on social media that sometimes want to puff their chest out. Walk us through that story and just what you've learned, just being a high-level Division I athlete.
Oh, well, that originates 2020 in the COVID season. First or second or third start or something in my career. I had a handful of penalties, procedural penalties, whatever. And after the fact, there's a lot of nasty media, nasty messages, Twitter.
Your own fans. Fans.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of kept going for a while after. A lot of people, until I think that, I was all conference and freshman All-American, and then it kind of subsided. But there was always that thing that hung around, and people didn't treat it well. So one of the next days after that game, my GAs or analysts at the time sent me that quote, and I had heard it before, but I never really read it. And since then, it kind of always try to live by it in the sense of hey, man, no matter who you are, no matter if you're the top of the top, people are going to throw stones at you. So it don't matter. The only man that matters is you and your people,
I'm recruiting an army to take down Twitter people. You're on my team. Speed round. I want to ask you 5 quick questions, Matt. Right. We're going to go tempo here. Do you know what game you graded out at the highest according to PFF last year?
Nope, no idea.
USF game.
USF, okay.
Slaughtered them. How many kids does your offensive line coach, Coach Mirabel, have? 2. My man, no one knows that. You have one night in Orlando to hang out. You're going to catch a Magic game or Orlando City?
Magic.
All right, my man. You're the starting offensive center for an NFL franchise. You can pick 4 other guys to flank your left and right. Who are the 4 guys you want playing alongside you that are in the NFL right now?
They're in the NFL now?
Yeah.
Okay, shoot. Trent Williams at left tackle. Okay. See what he can hold on to as he gets older. Probably Lane at the right tackle if I'm thinking quick. And then on the interior, there's a bunch of guys you could go with, but the guys that I really started thinking about as I got into high school and all that, give me Zach Martin at one of them.
Okay.
And honestly, I'm looking a bounce back for Q Nelson.
All right.
Because he didn't have a bad year last year, but it wasn't that Quentin Nelson first 4 years in a row or whatever. But give me those 5 guys.
And then last one, give us a television or a movie or a music recommendation that we need to check out. From Matt Lee.
Okay, my favorite movie ever is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Okay, we'll check it out. Matt, hey man, appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
That is a wrap for Wake Up Warchant. Thanks to Dewayne Carter. Thanks to Matt Lee. And on behalf of Corey and myself, thank you for listening to the show. As Corey said, check in around 6 o'clock, 6:30 over on warchant.com. Warchant TV, our YouTube channel. We'll have post-practice wrap-up. I think live. I think Tom Lang's going to be at home doing a wrap-up with one of the guys that's been on the scene watching the entire practice. We'll have interviews with coach and players. Corey and I will then do a live podcast 9 p.m. tonight to dive further, take your questions, because that's what we do. So if you could hit that thumbs up, we'd appreciate it. Maybe leave a 5-star rating and review as well. Stay connected to warchant.com. Again, remember, $1 for a month or 25% off an entire year's worth of access to Florida State on warchant.com. Again, you can hop on all the On3 message boards. You can check out the Miami board, the Miami of Ohio board if there is one, Texas, everybody in between. It's worth it. Again, come home. We'd appreciate it. For Corey Maslon, thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.